In self-sabotage coaching, there is something called a child mind, pain aversion, short-term thinking saboteur. And this kind of saboteur is, again, working as designed. There's no malfunctions in psychology. So self-sabotage psychology is all about going back and finding the child adaptations that the child used to use in childhood and identifying what those adaptations are, and now that person would be using those child adaptations inside their adult life. And if you bring child-based behavior into an adult life, only bad things happen, and that's why they call it self-sabotage. The child short-term thinking, pain aversion saboteur is, again, most sort of psychology is based on, or psychological control of someone is based on repetition. And we all have acted and thought and behaved as children for many, many, many years of our lives. Now, in the ancient world, the ancients knew this, and they knew it was very dangerous. They knew that if there was not a fast and quick break, like a hard break between the childhood and the adulthood, well, then the person would, mature chronologically, which means they would have an age that was older. So the person might be 30, 35, 40, and there was no limit to it. But the person would be older, and they would still act, talk, and think like a child. And not only was it annoying for an adult to act, talk, and think like a child, the ancient cultures knew it was extremely dangerous. So much so that they had these ceremonies or rituals called rites of passage, where the child would be challenged. Let's say in ancient Sparta, Greece, the 14-year-old males, and there were rites of passage for females as well, but the 14-year-old males would be put outside the city walls to survive on their own in sort of the dangerous forest for a week. And during that week, the mother, especially the mother, they knew it was very important to separate from the mother. And this is, if you notice people today, if they're having a hard time in life or their maturity levels are not up to par, they're usually attached to the mother. There's some mother issues, and some can be attached to the father, but usually the mother. If there's a hard mother and child bond that's not interfered with, this can inhibit what we call maturation or individuation. So when the 14-year-old boy, was placed outside the walls in Sparta, in the very dangerous Spartan forest, there would be pain, and there would be some failure, there would be some fear. And those sort of things, a lot of parents think are negative. We don't want our children in fear. We don't want them to experience failure or any sort of pain. But the ancients knew that when someone went out on their own, they had to sub in their decision for what the child's going to eat, when the child's going to sleep, who's going to prep everything for the child. Well, it goes from the mother and father prepping everything, and then moves down to the child taking full responsibility for the child's, just for the child's entire life. So the child would come back, in most cases, mature and an individual, not a part of the group, not a part of the herd, someone that could blend into the herd, someone that could blend into the group. But when it came down to it, the child hopefully would be an individual and would be able to stand his ground in the tribal circle and give his opinion freely and back his opinion up with logical and rational analysis of whatever problem the tribe was facing at that time. So the child aversion, short-term thinking saboteur has never taken the rite of passage. And this is well known in psychology, where the people who rule us obviously know it's easier to rule perpetual children because they don't want to think on their own. They're adverse to pain. They think pain's a goblin. Most people today think pain's a goblin. They could take a Tylenol, they got a headache, they don't listen to the message. They're working depressing jobs and they're depressed because they're on the wrong path. But then they go to the doctor and say, oh, I'm depressed, there's something wrong. I'm feeling pain, please drug me, please drug me. So everything's about avoiding pain. And if you notice people today that are in the most trouble, they're addicted to all these painkillers, which is part of this cycle where people believe pain is a goblin and they run away from it. And every time you run away from pain, you don't mature, you don't grow up, you don't individuate, and you never take your full adult role inside the tribal circle. And that's really shitty for the average person, and it's really good for the people who rule us, because as the saying goes, like taking candy from a baby, if you noticed, the people our misleaders today it's like literally taking candy from a baby, stealing the people's businesses, stealing the people's tax. Well, if that is stealing the people's money, stealing everything. The group, the misleaders above us, the group of psychopathic parasites, they're taking everything, and everybody's like acting, talking, and thinking like children. A real adult, if someone's going to come in and take something that's not owned by them and lie to your face, we're doing this for the health, and we're doing this for freedom. And, in the ancient world, someone that's an obvious bullshitter like that would get the sword to their sword very, very quickly. But today people are like, yeah, come on in, take all my stuff. Because they're weak, because they're immature, because they're children. They don't know how to be an adult. They don't know how to talk like an adult because they've never taken the rite of passage. And when you put that person in an adult life, their life goes right in the shitter. They're sometimes overweight because they can't control their eating. They're bankrupt. They can't control their spending. They have no adult control. And there's ways to deal with that. There are solutions. If you want the solutions, just get on my private email list. I share them for free. Email me at info@jchristoff.com. This is Jason Christoff. Early morning workout in Latvia. Thanks for listening.